Okay, so welcome. This is the Premier Chess Adult Beginners Group, Fall 2020, and this is week 5. And by popular demand, we're going to continue our examination of various openings. Um, we did E4 King Pawn openings, and we did C4 English openings. So now we're gonna explore D4 Queen Pawn openings. All right, so we're going to see if we can uncover some little tricks and traps here. Okay. So D4. So in general, D4 as compared to E4 tends to yield more slower positional type games as opposed to E4, which tends to yield more sharp, tactical, and exciting games that tend to yield quicker conclusions. So I think for that reason, a lot of beginners love E4 because it's so exciting, King's Gambit and all these gambits and sacrifices and attack the king and all that kind of stuff. And it's fun for beginners. But it's really complex. And interestingly enough, when I started getting into chess, like at 12 years old, I started really getting into it and reading books and all that. I was a big E4 King Pawn open person for white, and I love that tactical aspect to it, as most beginners do. And then as I kind of grew and played more chess, I changed, and now I no longer play E4 like ever. Unless you force me. If you give me $100 to play E4, I might play E4. Other than that, I don't really like E4. And for me, I enjoy the slower positional games that D4 and C4. I pretty much play anything except D4, like D4, C4, Knight F3, B3, G3, that kind of thing. E4 is just too tactical, too sharp, and so everybody knows their own tricks and traps with that. So I'm like, I just go with the slower positional games. I'm not looking for exciting fireworks in my games. So that's what I do. So I love D4, and I do it a lot. All right, so let's see. By the way, let me just ask you guys, what kind of openings do you guys tend to play? More E4, more D4? What do you, or
I
C4?
use more D4.
More D4. Okay.
I'm
What about you?
definitely E4.
Definitely E4. Okay. And what about you, Nancy? What do you use?
I tend to do B4 to open up the bishop.
Oh wait, B4. You mean this one?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. I think the name of that opening, there's a name for that. It's called the orangutan opening. Did you know that?
No, is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing?
It's not a common opening. I think a lot of chess teachers wouldn't recommend it because this pawn is just kind of hanging out there. This bishop is ready to chomp on it and get rid of it. I mean, you could do pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I do the B4 and then the C3.
B4, C3. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would suggest if you're going to go that route,
yeah,
even better would just be open with B3 to prepare to get the bishop on the long diagonal, and that way the pawn's not out here hanging in the wind and is not vulnerable from this bishop, right?
Yeah, right. Good.
So maybe,
thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Point taken.
I would recommend that as opposed to B3. But you were playing the orangutan opening, whether you knew it or not. So
did not know that.
So yeah, kind of good. Okay.
Cool. Why is it called the orangutan opening?
I have no idea why it's called the orangutan. Some of these openings have the strangest names. I'm sure they have some kind of origin story. I never looked into why it's called that. So yeah. So who is a Magic Team Pro? Who is that? Like Magic Team Pro account.
That's my brother, Paul Busho.
Oh, that's Paul. Oh, great. Okay, good. Go. Excellent. Okay, good. Wow. Okay. So Paul and Monty. All right, great. Okay, so we're just missing Hanya then. All right, good. Okay, cool. So all right, so D4. So let's look up. Let's continue some possible responses. So Knight F6 is a possible response. C4. So now this can transpose to a few different things. This would be the Nimzo Indian. So so the idea is that the knight is controlling the center squares, right? The c3 knight. So black simply wants to pin the knight and maybe come over here, knight e4, and eventually get rid of the knight so that white's control over the center is weakened, right? So that's one possible thing, and then there's a lot of variations that can come from that. Maybe something like this, and then c5, so defending the bishop and also striking at the center. So a lot of different things can result from that. So that's the Nimzo-Indian or Nimzovich defense, which is named after Aaron Nimzovich, the great chess player of the early 20th century. I think I mentioned that him to you guys in a past lesson. He wrote the book My System, which you can say is like chess philosophy, basically. And he's a very eloquent writer, very eloquent chess writer, and a lot of world champions use that book and highly recommended it for their students. So yeah, so that's one. So then there's basically let me just explain to you about Nimzovich a little bit more. So Hanya, welcome. Hanya just came in. So Nimzovich, so if some of the openings, like for example, you see d4, right? There's a pawn in the center and he's trying to control the center. So Nimzovich's idea was fight for the center without placing a pawn in the center. So in this case, instead of placing a pawn himself in the center, he chooses to attack and restrain the knight that's helping white to control the center. So kind of indirectly striking at the center. Also, another Nimzovich idea is to fianchetto the bishops, bishop b7, and now again you're putting pressure on the center indirectly as opposed to bringing a pawn in the center. So it's like an indirect way to fight for the center. So he had a different idea. Hi Hanya, welcome. All right.
Hey, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's okay. So we're talking about d4 queen pawn openings today. So okay, so that's Nimzo-Indian or Nimzovich defense. So now we have this is the King's Indian. So again, so white controlling the center with the pawns, right? A lot, and black is he's not really visibly trying to control the center as much as quickly. He's basically black's goal in this variation is to fianchetto the bishop and then castle as quickly as possible. So get his king to safety, right? And now e4. So now look at white has a nice pawn center, very beautiful. So and as opposed and so the trade-off is black gets quick development and gets his king to safety much quicker than white. So now let me ask you, in this position, what do you think the best move would be for black? So after e4, what do you think the best move for black would be here?
D5 looks like a pretty strong move, maybe.
D5. Okay, what does everyone think? D5. Good move? Bad
Yeah.
move? What do you think? Dubious move? What do you think?
King's kind of exposed.
Which king? Black or white?
The Black King.
Black king. Not really. I mean, there's only this diagonal, not really that exposed, but I mean, this is I wouldn't say that's a particularly good move because you're basically just giving away the pawn. You can just take here or take here. Maybe he would probably take towards the center. And now his white's control over the center is a little bit stronger now. So I wouldn't recommend that one. Anything else?
Too early?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is it too early to castle?
Okay, so castling is one option. So here, I don't really like castling. I don't think it actually. Let's see what the computer says. Yeah, it gives a slight advantage to white here. Not really that much, but I don't like castling here. Can anyone see why I don't like castling here? What do you think?
The only defense for the knight on G7 is the king.
You mean the bishop on G7?
The bishop, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, not particularly that reason. What else? What's another reason I wouldn't like castling here?
Oh, you're giving up a move to develop a piece.
No. So I have a pretty good move in mind for white in this position. What do you think? What do you think?
E5.
Yeah, E5. Yeah, definitely. E5 is a beautiful move. Gaining space, attacking with tempo. So gaining space and attacking. Again, another move that simultaneously does two things. And now, so let's say he goes knight H5. Good move or bad move?
Bad move.
Why?
You said to keep your knights away from the edge.
Good. That's one reason. But so now in this position specifically, why would it be a bad move? What can white do?
If white used the bishop
Oh,
to go to E2, I don't see that that's a really great advantage, because if you did that and you threaten the knight, well, this doesn't seem to be the best move.
Yeah, you could go bishop E2, and maybe he goes bishop H8, trying to retreat the knight. You could win a pawn here. That's true. But there's an even better move than bishop E2, though. Even stronger than that.
What if you move your bishop to G5?
Bishop
the
to
queen.
G5.
Getting
Queen.
on to the
here?
protect the queen. No. Take the bishop on A3.
Bishop on A. On wait. It's white's
Are we
move, right?
doing a black move or a white move?
Oh, it's white's move here.
Yeah. So we take the bishop on A3.
Well, here's A3. There's no bishop here.
Oh, duh. I'm sorry. I
That's
don't
okay.
know the alphabet. C1.
C1. Okay.
And move it to G5.
Bishop G5. Not really attacking anything. Yeah, a much stronger move than that. Not really attacking much. What do you think? Very strong move here. Punish black for knight H5. You want a hint?
yeah.
Okay, so it involves attacking the knight. So what do you think?
The queen, but you already did that.
No, not
Queen
the
to
queen.
H5, because then you lose the queen.
No good. No.
Yeah.
Then your white knight attacking?
No. I didn't say any piece. I just said it involves attacking the black knight.
Okay.
Wait, Monty, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm talking to myself. I
That's
didn't
okay.
want to keep. No,
That's a,
I mean, you could play bishop E2, or you could play G4.
yeah. So we said bishop E2 before, and that definitely wins a pawn. But yeah, G4 much more powerful. The knight is trapped. Where can the knight move to? The knight cannot move anywhere, right? F4 controlled by the bishop, F6 controlled by the pawn, and G7 blocking his escape. This is controlled. So yeah. In this position, white wins a piece. White wins the knight. So definitely knight H5 no good. So the knight has to retreat back to E8, very unhappy square, and maybe white can even solidify his control over the center with something like this, maybe this. So this is a very comfortable game. Look how much space, all of this space white has so much control over the center, and black is very cramped here, very cramped. Now, how can you avoid all of that? Let's go back. So how can you avoid all that? Instead of castling here, what would you do instead of that?
Knight c6.
Knight c6, we run into the same thing.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
And now he's actually forced to go back to his original square, which is even worse because now he can't even castle.
Hmm.
So no, we don't want that. So let's go back. Yeah. Okay. So what's another
Maybe
move?
start developing the pawns and let's see, pull out
Move the pawns, maybe. Um, D.
like maybe D5.
Okay. Okay. So that's what Greg said. D5, we just lose a pawn,
Oh, I see.
right?
Okay.
So yeah. So we need something better. What do you think?
So E. No.
Well,
What
think
about-
B6, pawn to B6 to open up the
B6.
bishop.
Well, again, same thing.
Oh,
So yeah. So well, think about it like this. So the threat is E5, right? Kicking this knight away, gaining space, and pushing the knight on a very inferior square. So the question is, how do we prevent E5? That's the question.
B6,
Yes.
E6?
Knight to
D6.
knight to C6.
Yeah. Oh well, knight C6 we said, but yeah, D6. D6 is the
Oh,
correct
oh,
answer.
D6.
Now E5 is no longer a threat. What if we do E5
Mhm.
now? Takes, and now we can trade queens. Maybe we can do this, and I don't know. Maybe knight can come down here. Now this pawn is hanging, and black is much freer, much happier in this position. So, and white's control over the center is mitigated. So we don't want to do that. So D6 would definitely be the best answer here. And so yeah, E4, D6, and this transposes. This is called the King's Indian defense. The King's Indian defense. This set up the fianchetto bishop, D6, and then castle, and then and the other player has this these pawns controlling the center. So that's that. Let me show you a slightly different one. G6, knight C3. Okay, instead of bishop G7 here, because once you do bishop G7, now you're allowing E4 controlling the center. So instead of that, black can do in this position, he can do D5, and now here, this is a different opening called the Grunfeld defense. This is okay. So this is basically black striking back at the center. He doesn't want to relinquish complete control of the center. So we can do this, take, and then white says, I still want to control the center. So he can go E4, you can take, and then fianchetto the bishop. Now the bishop has nice scope, eyeing these pawns, and then castling. And now it's gonna be black's goal to dislodge these pawns, right? These pawns are gonna become targets. So I can say castle, maybe here, and then maybe we can do something like this. See, now these pawns are very, very much a target. And if he takes, that would be a horrible, horrible move. Why would takes be a horrible move? What do you think?
Because it puts the king in check.
Well,
Because
gi-
the
well, gi-
bishop,
well, give me a move.
bishop to C3.
Excellent. Bishop takes E3, forking king and rook, right? So this bishop is very powerful on a long diagonal, right? So these pawns, they appear strong, but if they're dislodged in this way, it brings the bishop to life on G7. So yes, very good. Grunfeld defense. All right, so okay, so let's look at another variation, D4. So we saw D4, knight F6 possibilities. Now here's D4, D5, basically just mirroring white. C4. So this transposes. This is the queen's gambit. So Queen's Gambit, right? Gambit being a sacrificing of material for advantage, positional advantage, or strategic or tactical advantage. And so it appears that this pawn is free, right? Because it's not currently protected. But it's not really a gambit because it's very easy to win this pawn back if black takes. If black takes, this is called the Queen's Gambit accepted. And how can it give me a few ways that white can win back this pawn? What do you think? What do you guys think? How can white win back the pawn?
Knight to d2.
Okay, so knight d2. Okay, that's possible. Let's
What do
see.
you mean by what do you mean by win back a pawn?
Because you just basically sacrificed a pawn, right? He took your black took your pawn here, and now you're basically a pawn down. So if you're not going to win it back or gain some kind of other advantage, then you lost a pawn for nothing, right? So my question is, well, I said that this is not I don't think this is a real gambit because it's so easy to win this pawn back. So I just wanted to know what are some ways that white can win it back. So knight
Queen
d2.
A4?
Queen what?
Queen a4.
Yeah, queen a4 is one. All right, so let's look at knight d2 first, though. So knight d2 attacking c4. Now, I don't like this one. Actually, no, this is actually a bad move. Why is this a bad move? Everybody tell me, why is this a bad move?
So
What can black do here?
It's getting in the way of the bishop.
Okay, you're blocking your bishop. That's one reason, but there's more immediate reason. What can black do here?
Take the pawn.
Yeah, you're blocking your queen, right? Queen's no longer protecting the pawn. You lose another pawn. Now you're two pawns down. So you got to be careful. Don't give away too much stuff. So yeah, not knight d2. So what else? What's another move you can do here? Okay, so Stacy said queen a4 check. Very good. Forking king and pawn, immediately winning it back, right? That's a good possibility. Maybe that doesn't really matter what black does here, and then you win the pawn back. All right, that's one possibility. What's another one?
Does this have to be done in one move?
Well, you're gonna be winning it like in the next few moves. Yeah. So yeah. So what would be another way to win the pawn back?
If it's two moves, then I would try pawn to e3.
Pawn to e3. Okay, good. So you're opening up your bishop, attacking the pawn. Good. It's possible that he could try to protect it like this, which would be kind of annoying, right? And you're like, give me the pawn back. Stop protecting it. And so let's see. It would be. Any ideas what to do after this? What do you think?
Queen a4.
Queen a4. Okay. In this case, queen d7 would be a good counter to that because you don't have time to take this pawn because you're just going to lose your queen, right? So what do you think? So maybe another one besides queen a4. What do you think? How would we win that pawn back?
can you move your bishop to d2?
Bishop d2. But what does that achieve? Well, why would you do that?
Because I'm thinking if the next move could be to a5.
Too slow. Yeah,
Oh.
too slow. Yeah, we need something a little bit quicker.
Pawn to b3.
Okay, so if you go b3, you're losing another pawn. You're giving him a chance to trade, and now you lost. So now you're down 2 pawns now. Actually, no, you're still down a pawn because, yeah, you guys pawn back, but you lost a pawn. So you're basically down. You're still down a pawn here. So okay, yeah, not that one. What else? So think of just increasing pressure on this pawn, right? How would you increase pressure on the pawn?
Can use the knight to a3, but then if I were to take that pawn, then the bishop can just take the knight.
Well, yeah. No, this is a good move. Knight a3, right? Attacking the pawn now twice, right? And he can't really, black can't go b5, right? Because he's just going to lose. He's going to lose that that pawn as well. And now these pawns become doubled, isolated pawns, even weaker and even easier to attack. So yeah, he can't really defend this. And if he tries to defend it with the queen, you can just take with the knight, and you're safe. You're completely fine. And I much prefer White's position in this case, because look, he has a very nice, powerful central pawn, and Black does not. Right. So this is a much better position for White. So yeah, so e3 is one possibility. Another possibility is e4, because now if Bishop tries to defend again, Bishop e6, that wouldn't really work this time. Why?
If you're willing to trade queens, you could play d5.
Yeah, d5, definitely. How would you trade queens though?
Yeah, of course, that bishop's not going to take the pawn.
No,
Never
no,
mind.
no. It's not going to take the pawn. Pawn's protected. So Bishop has to move again. The only really logical square, other than the original square, is Bishop d2, Bishop d7, and then Bishop takes c4. And now look at this. White has a beautiful centralized center pawns here, protecting or controlling the center very nicely. And White is basically controlling the entire center, and Black is controlling nothing of the center. So that's really the drawback to in the Queen's Gambit to taking the pawn, because what you're doing is you're forfeiting your control over the center, and very rarely is that a good idea. I don't recommend that at all. So you have to fight for the center always. So and you remember how I always tell you guys that the key to psychological chess anyway is maintaining the tension, right? So a lot of beginners, when they see that they can capture a piece, they immediately capture it, but that's not always the most prudent decision. Sometimes it's much better to maintain the tension. So I like, when I play Black, sometimes I often do Queen's Gambit declined. So that's this. So e4, d4, d5, c4, and now e6. So now if he tries to capture your center pawn, you just replace it with another center pawn, right? So, and this is a very comfortable position for Black here. All right, so there's that. Let's see what else we got down here. So here's another possible. d4, you can also defend it with c6. This is called the Slav defense. And play might continue like this, and maybe bring the bishop out, right? Because all right, let me ask you guys why. Yeah, the reason that I don't like this position, e6, why is this position not as preferable?
Because it's blocking the bishop.
Yeah, look at all these pawns on white squares, right? This bishop has become a bad bishop. Everybody know what I mean when I say bad bishop? Good bishop and bad bishop?
No.
Okay, so when you have a pawn chain, and most, if not all, of the pawns are on one particular color. For example, in this position, the white pawns, the black pawns are on the white squares. So the light squared bishop becomes a bad bishop. Why? Because now these pawns are blocking his mobility. He can't move as well. Bishops, like rooks, enjoy long range, open files, open diagonals. So in this position, this bishop basically is worthless. It's kind of like just acting like a pawn. He's not able to exercise his full mobility. So if you want to play e6, which is fine, I would definitely bring the bishop out of the pawn chain first, and now you can close the pawn chain, and now the bishop enjoys a nice diagonal here, right? And now this is very annoying to to white. So he would probably want to do bishop d3, neutralizing this bishop, trading it off, or even maybe try sometimes if let's say yeah, now he wants to trade the knight for the bishop, so he would probably want to do something like that because he wants to get rid of this, right? This is very uncomfortable to have the bishop control this diagonal. So yeah, that's that. Let's see what else we got here. G4. Any questions, by the way? Anything you want me to go over again? Everybody's good? Okay. Okay. Let's see. So I'll here I can go over something else. So we looked at E6 and then we looked at D5 as being an answer. Another possible response Black could do is F5. This would be I believe this is called the Dutch defense. So it's kind of like a reverse Sicilian, kind of like that, kind of like a Sicilian type formation. Sicilian being E4 and C5. So this would be D4 and F5. And again, remember I told you guys that it's not prudent to open up this E8 to H5 diagonal, but here it's not really that big of a deal because the queen can't really come here to attack. And also, even if the queen could come to attack, that would kind of help Black. Because remember I told you guys about, just like, you shouldn't capture every time you're able to capture. You shouldn't check every time you're able to check, right? The same, Patzer sees check, Patzer plays check, right? So always you have to think, if I'm going to do this check or this capture, is it going to improve my position or improve my opponent's position? So it's a very important thing to keep in mind. So yeah, so in this position, the king can't really be attacked that quickly. Maybe play might continue like C4, knight F6, and now this H5 square is controlled, so Black is completely fine. The very nice central location for the knight, maybe like this, and now Black can choose, whether he wants to go E6. He can go E6, bishop E7, castle, or he can go G7. G6, bishop G7, put the bishop on the long diagonal, then castle. Or he can even, you can do the fianchetto on this side, get this bishop out on the nice long diagonal. So there's a lot of possible variations with that. So yeah. All right. So let's look at some little gambits here. Any questions, by the way? Anything you want me to go back over, or are you good? Okay, cool. Okay, so here's some Queen's Gambit traps. So let's look at some of these. So D4, D5, Queen's Gambit. Okay, so this would be Queen's Gambit accepted. Okay, E3, attacking the... All right, so now, very interesting move. So now the pawn, we didn't actually go over this. So let's say, what if Black tries to defend his pawn with the B pawn? What do you do then? Right? So let me ask you guys this. When you have a pawn chain, or when your opponent has a pawn chain, where is the most vulnerable part of the pawn chain? What do you think? The most vulnerable part of a pawn chain is where?
The last pawn, because nothing is protecting it.
Right. The base of the pawn chain is always the weakest, right? So here's a little pawn chain, right? So what should we do first? Attack the base, right? So that's the next move, A4, attack the base. Now, would it be wise for Black to take this pawn? What do you think? Would that be a good move?
No.
Why? Why is that a bad move?
Queen to A4, and then you have check.
Well, yeah. Not only can you take the pawn back, but just look at Black's pawns. Doubled isolated pawn, doubled isolated pawns. Very, very weak. Very easy to pick off whenever you want, basically. So that would not be prudent at all. So, what if Black decides to? Or actually, you know what? Let me ask you this before I show you C6. Is A6 a good move to defend the pawn? What do you think?
That would open up the white rook. It might.
Okay. Okay,
Wouldn't it-
so
If you-
what do you mean open up the white rook? How would we do that? Okay, wait, Nancy, can you repeat that? You kind of faded out there. Your connection was poor.
I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm having audio issues. So if you do the pawn that's on A4
Yeah.
to B5,
Okay, A4 takes B5. Okay, good.
well,
Yes,
then your rook is open.
So now, why is that a good move? A takes B5. Why is that a good move?
A cannot take B5.
Yeah, he can't take. Why?
He exposes his rook.
Exactly. He's going to lose
Because
his rook. Yes, exactly. So
oh,
so-
I see.
yeah, so
Yeah, right, right.
so the A
Yeah.
pawn from black would be pinned to the rook, right? So that's why A6 would be a horrible move. He would lose the B pawn. He can't even take back, and he's going to lose this pawn as well. So he's just not doing good at all. So A6, no good. So C6, why is that no good either? Let's see. What if black takes? White takes, black takes, and now killer move for white here. What do you think? Killer move for white.
Queen to A4? Or is
Queen
there better?
A4. No, you just lose your queen.
Oh, wait a minute. What did I just? Oh, yeah, no, never mind.
Is it is it white or black's move?
White's move here. Killer move for white's move. Killer move for white.
Knight to C3?
Knight C3 is a good move. I would not categorize that as a killer move, though.
Ah.
I'm looking for a killer move. What do you think?
Power move.
B3.
B3. Okay, that's a good move. Again, I'm not gonna say that's a bad move. Not a killer move though. That's a good move because you will win this back. Because if the pawn takes, bishop can take with check, and yeah, you're gonna win it back. But there's a better move, even better than that. What do you think?
Queen to H5.
But then what?
Queen to H5.
No.
Not really much. You are attacking here. Queen's like kind of out in the open by herself. No, not really. There's a better move than that. What do you think? You want me to give you a hint?
Yeah,
Mhm.
All right.
we want to buy a vowel.
You want to buy a
Need a mulligan.
all right, I'll give you a big hint here. This is a queen move.
Ah.
Is it one move or is it two moves?
There's one move. It's
Oh.
killer. It's killer move. You know, this move is killer. I'll say that. This queen move is a really good move.
Queen F3.
Queen F3. Yes. Why is that a good move? Before I move it, why is that a good move? Visualize. Why is it good?
You're going to take the rook.
Yes, this rook. See, now this whole diagonal is completely open, right? Queen F3, and this entire diagonal is very, very weak,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
Bishop cannot block, going to be taken. Knight cannot block, going to be taken. Queen cannot block, it's going to be taken. So this queen completely dominating this diagonal, and you're going to lose the rook with no compensation at all,
Mm.
right? No way to save the rook. So very classic little a little trap there. So there's one way you can kind of save the rook, and like you can just lose a minor piece instead of a rook, which is knight c6, check. And now how do you save the rook here?
Get your bishop over to d7.
Yeah, bishop d7. Now you're connecting the queen, the rook. So you saved your rook, but you lost a knight in the process. So yeah, you lost a piece. But yeah. So that's the killer move. Win a piece. Very nice. Very nice little trick there. So keep that in mind. If you play d4 and your opponent tries to protect their pawn, they get greedy. If they get greedy, greed is punished in chess. Okay, you got to think about that. Greed is punished. So you got to look out for these kinds of things. You know, this is a classic case of underdevelopment and overextension, right? So you're pushing, when it's good to push your pawns and control the center, but if you do so at the expense of other squares and you weaken yourself in the process, then you got to be careful. That's no good. So you can push your pawns, gain space, but make sure you also bring your pieces out as well and have them exert control over the center as well. So just pushing pawns by themselves, it won't be a good idea. Won't win the game. All right, so let's go on for another little queen gambit trap. Let's see this one, d45. So another queen's gambit accepted. Okay, now knight f6. So in this one, black doesn't even try to save the pawn or keep his pawn. He just lets white take. And all right, queen a4 check, bishop a4. And now there's a really good move here for white. What do you think? Pretty good move here, as opposed to a killer move. It's a pretty good move.
Bishop to b5.
Bishop b5. Okay, I mean, you're not really threatening much, maybe he can just go like develop his knight or just even block, and now you got to move your bishop again. So much stronger move than that. What do you think?
Knight to e5.
No. Why would knight e5 be a bad move? Anybody? Why is knight e5 no good?
Well, black could do knight to c5. Well, no.
No. Very simple, obvious reason why knight e5 is no good.
Oh, the bishop can take, well.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
take the-
our queen is hanging. Don't
Yeah.
forget about the queen.
Right.
Queen is hanging. No good. Take care not to you could sacrifice your queen if it's a good reason, but here I don't think that good of a reason. So not 95. Okay, give me another good move for white. What do you think?
Pawn to b3 to protect the queen and the bishop.
No, you lose your queen again. So
Oh.
I'll give you guys a hint. It's a queen move.
It's a queen move.
Queen move, yeah. This is not a queen sacrifice puzzle.
Hmm.
Queen to B3.
Yes. Okay. Why is queen b3 a good move without before me
Yep.
moving it?
So you have kind of a strong diagonal. Um,
So what is queen b3 threatening?
well, it's not really threatening anything directly, but I was just looking at developing a strong diagonal.
It's actually threatening two things. Anybody see what queen b3 before I move it? What's it? What is it threatening?
It's threatening
Yeah.
bishop B7 check.
Oh, bishop. You mean bishop takes f7? Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
And what
Well,
else?
Threatening the pawn on B, if the queen took the pawn at B7, and it's threatening the knight and the rook.
Well, the rook specifically, but yeah. So queen b3 is a direct threat on f7 and b7. So it's a double attack. It's very nice, beautiful double attack. So probably black's best option is to castle, and then maybe you just win a pawn this way, and he can save the rook. He can save the rook, either knight c6 or bishop c6. You're saving the rook through an x-ray. Then you just bring the queen back, and you just win a nice pawn, and you just destroy his queenside pawn structure. So now he's got two isolated pawns. So yeah, that's one little gambit trap. Let's see, maybe we can do one more. Let's see. Okay, so in this position, so the queen just came out, delivered this check. So now what if so we saw what if bishop d7. Now let's look at knight c6. What is let's see, knight c6, knight e5. Ooh, nice. Knight e5 is threatening to capture the knight, win a pawn. Also simultaneous threat is on f7, bishop and knight. Right, beautiful. So again, another double attack. Very nice.
So is there a definition of a gambit, or is that just a term for certain moves? mean-
Gambit is usually a type of opening. A person does a gambit opening to either gain space or gain tactical advantage over their opponent in the opening, right? When you give up a piece or give up a pawn or a piece intentionally during the game, it's called a sacrifice, right? So it's a little bit same idea, but it's later in the game. So yeah. So this is does that answer your question, by the way?
Yeah, it's not about the placement of the piece at all then. It's
It's about, I guess, the time. Like if you do it in
it's
the
just
opening,
the
yeah,
move.
if you
Okay.
do it in the opening, it's a gambit. Yeah,
Oh, got it. Okay.
yeah. So knight c6, knight e5, castle, take, win a nice pawn there. Or okay, you didn't even want to take the pawn, but destroy his pawn structure. But you can very well win this pawn. Fine, cool. All right, let's do another one. Okay, again, same. This is all the same position. There's a bunch of little tactics here. Queen d7. Okay, what if queen d7? Ooh, this is a nice one. So what's a great move for white here? Beautiful little trick here for white. Best move.
Maybe you could bring your knight up, knight to G5.
Knight to g5. What do you think, guys? Good move or bad move?
You're gonna lose your queen.
You're gonna lose
still.
your queen. Yep, your queen's under attack. No good. All right, what else?
The bishop to b5.
Bishop b5. Okay, you're trying to win the queen, but he can defend very easily, kick away your bishop, and black's doing just fine. Maybe it comes down to here. So yeah. So what do you think? Anything else? Another good move?
Pawn to B3 to protect the queen.
Pawn to b3, take queen. No, not really. No. Much better than that. What do you think? It's a little tricky, sneaky move here.
Tricky, sneaky.
Queen to a7.
Queen a7 here?
Yeah.
No, you just you lose your queen.
Oh, I don't know what I was thinking. Never
Yeah.
mind.
That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, don't move.
It's okay. All right. Anybody else?
But bishop takes f7 check.
Ah. Now what's the reasoning behind it before I move it?
Ah,
Wait, you're on mute. You're on mute.
If the king takes that bishop, instead of just hiding from it, then you play knight e5 and have a fork on the king and the queen.
Excellent, excellent. See, the queen moved into position. Beautiful. Bishop takes f7. Remember, there's so many tactics with this bishop, which is with this weak f pawns. There's so many tactics, right? So if the king takes, that's beautiful, lining up for a nice knight fork there. So yeah, something to keep in mind. You know, always keep in mind these knight forks and the little tactics on f7. You know, so yeah, it's amazing how many of these little tricks there are in these openings. Yeah. All right. So maybe we'll end it there. So anybody anybody have any questions? Want to go over something again, or any questions at all about anything?
mm-mm,
No.
no.
All right.
That's good.
So now you guys are all expert D4 opening people, I assume, right? So I expect you to not lose a game now in D4. So what about for next week? Any requests about what you want? So I covered E4, E4, D4, C4. You want me to continue doing a different opening like F4 or you want me to do, you want to do end game stuff, or maybe like a specific chess concept, like I do windmills, queen sacrifices, zugzwang, Zwiesenzug, pawn storms, exchange sacrifice. There's a lot of different concepts. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, how about something for the middle game?
You want to do some middle game stuff?
That was just an
Sure.
idea. I mean, whatever anybody else wants is good for me.
Yeah.
No, I
I'm-
agree with Craig. I mean, we got the opening, we'll do the middle, and then we'll do some ends.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So all right. So
About
do
something like forks and skewers and things like that, tactical moves.
yeah. Okay. So all right. So middle game stuff. All right. I will. Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. I'll see what I can do with that. We'll get
I have
better
a
at the
quick
middle game.
question.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Those two words that begin with the letter Z that I can't pronounce.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great concepts to know. Is anybody familiar with those? Zugzwang? Everybody know what Zugzwang is?
No.
Okay. Okay, so I see Monty, you're nodding your head. You know what it is?
You have to move, but you don't want to. Every move is a bad one.
Yeah, so it's a German word. Zugzwang and Zwiesenzug are two German words, and as far as I know, they are specific chess terms. Like they're not terms that people would use in common German parlance, conversational German. It's like every German knows, like, no, that's only for chess people. so yeah, so Zugzwang is when your position is so bad that you don't want to move. If you could, you would skip your move, right? But you can't, right? Obviously, you have to move. And so any move that you make, it will lead to a worsening of your position. Either lose material, lose precious space, or force a checkmate. That's a good definition of Zugzwang. And what about Zwiesenzug? Does anybody know what that is? Anybody? Okay. So Zwiesenzug is called another German word specific for chess players, and it's translated as an intermediate move or an in-between move. So actually, you know what? This might be a good example of an in-between move. So here, in this position, after Queen D7, the obvious move that I think most beginners would think, I have to move my queen, right? My queen is under attack. I got to do something, either, block, interpose my bishop, or bring the queen back, or something like that. But sometimes you can do an in-between move, and it often involves a check, right? Because that's a very forceful move, right? So Black is expecting you to move your queen, but you can do this in-between move, which is bishop takes f7, and it's a nice in-between move, taking advantage that the queen is here, And if the king takes, now you can do another in between move. See, you're not even your queen is still free, but black doesn't have a chance to take it. And now another example of an in between move would be knight e5, right? So it's basically doing moves in between obvious or expected moves. Or sometimes they involve captures. Like if you do a capture, if you capture a rook, let's say, and they expect you to recapture with the other rook, but you say I can do this other thing, and I can win material, and then after all that little combination is done, then I recapture the move, recapture the rook, and in the at the end of the combination, you win material or gain space or something like that. So that is Wiesenthal. So would you guys be interested in me going further into depth, like do a lesson on that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can do that. Cool. Okay, so we'll do that then for next week. Great.
I just wanted to mention a couple weeks ago, we were talking about movies. There's a new Netflix series starting Friday called The Queen's Gambit.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
seven episodes.
Ooh.
And that the movie, we were talking about the Brooklyn movie, and I was saying that I had seen one involving Miami. The one involving Miami was, I think, called Critical Thinking.
Oh.
Another chess movie.
Ooh, critical thinking. I never heard that
That
one.
was, that was very similar to the Brooklyn movie. It's a teacher who teaches some
Cool.
kids.
And the D4, what's it called? D4 openings is called?
Now which one? Queen's Gambit.
Oh, it's called Queen's Gambit?
Then there's a series starting Friday, the 23rd, which I think is Friday, called The Queen's Gambit. It's 7 episodes
The
on
Queen's
Netflix.
Gambit. Cool. I gotta check that one out. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always interested in like new chess movies or chess series or chess media, because I recommend that to students and their parents if they want to get just find out more or get inspired. Like the Magnus, I don't know if you guys have seen the Magnus documentary on I think it's on Amazon Prime now. That was great. I saw that with my kids. Searching for Bobby Fischer, wonderful movie that inspired me as a teenager in the 90s when that came out. And then what else? There's a Queen of Katwe. I don't know if anyone's seen that one. That's a great one. True story about a woman in the dire abject poverty in Uganda, and how she used chess to lift herself out of poverty. And it's like it gives people a reason to improve themselves, to strive to
What
get
was
better.
that one called?
Queen of
sorry.
Katwe, Katwe, Queen of Katwe. And then there's Life of a King. You know what I can do? I have a whole list of these movies. I can email you all these lists if you want.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I like compiled a whole list, and I'm actually still trying to watch a bunch of these so I can recommend them, because I there's even a couple I haven't even seen yet. There's one I'm watching now. It's free on Amazon Prime. It's called Queen to Play, Queen to Play, and that's with Kevin Kline. It takes place in France, and that's a really nice movie. And what else? I saw Endgame. That was a nice movie. Taking place in I think Arizona. That was really cool, inspiring movie. And then there was Life of a King. That's with Cuba Gooding Jr. Yeah, so there's a bunch of I compiled the whole list of them, so I can send you guys that.
There's a Swedish movie.
Say again?
There's a Swedish movie, which is supposed to be real good, where the pieces are all robots, I think.
Oh, really? See.
Yeah. I'll
Wow.
see if I can find the title of that. It's got subtitles though.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And then also I actually did a series of lectures for my other group class, my private group class, where I analyzed chess positions that are featured in movies. These are not particularly chess movies, but some movies feature chess positions, and sometimes they're like ridiculous positions that nobody would get into, but sometimes they're really good positions and they're really good puzzles. And so I call it Chess in the Movies. My lecture series, Chess in the Movies. So I have two of those. So that's another thing if you guys might be interested in going out, like from the X-Men. I don't know if any of you have seen the X-Men movies, but they feature a lot of chess positions in each of those movies. And only the first one was like a really good puzzle.
Oh.
So yeah, so there's a couple of things like that as well.
If any of you have ever heard of the great courses, it's kind of like college lectures, but there's one on chess.
Hmm.
And the guy who gives the lecture was a consultant to movies and TVs for setting up chessboards.
Nice.
The most common mistake the film industry made was to get the chessboard set up incorrectly.
Yes, you're right. Exactly. Yeah. And it really hurts, you know, when chess masters, you know, are watching a movie and they see that they make that fundamental mistake. It's pretty funny.
Well, they could use those chess boards and have those moves in such a way that kind of adds to the plot of the movie. So if you understand
Yeah,
chess,
yeah.
you might be able to understand the attack and defense of a thriller or something
Yeah.
like that.
Sometimes they do if they use it correctly, but yeah, well,
Yeah,
sometimes
most of the
they
time,
sometimes
probably.
they botch it up pretty bad. So so yeah, I'll send that email out to you guys so you guys can check out my list. I have a bunch of chess movies, documentaries that I've seen. Some of them I've seen, some of them I have not seen. So yeah, awesome. So
Okay.
I'll see you guys
you.
all next week.
Yep.
All right.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Hope you guys have a
Thanks for
wonderful
the-
week. Take care.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Daniel.
Take care.